Greetings. Let's analyze the Kinetic Blast, Power Siphon Totem Hierophant. Patch 3.19 introduced new items that enable one of the most potent defensive gimmicks in the game, redirecting damage to be taken as one of a different type. The Font of Thunder Shield combined with Divine Flesh and 2 specific rings allow you to convert all of the damage to be taken as Chaos and Lightning. With Mind over Matter, Divine Guidance, and Mind of the Council Helmet, half of the Chaos, and 80 to 90% of lightning damage will be taken first from mana before life. That's why having a lot of unreserved mana and rapid mana regeneration is vital. It can be achieved quite easily. Any damage that goes to your miserable life pool can be quickly recovered via steady life recovery from the Agnostic Keystone that recovers your life very quickly by depleting your mana. The more mana you have, the faster you will recover your life. It disables your energy shield completely. You'll also recover life from the Ritual of Awakening Keystone and Vitality, however, those are used to fuel up rage from Chaos Spirit. These gloves cause your life regeneration not to recover your life, but to generate rage instead, which is extremely useful for any attack build. The build uses Kinetic Blast for clearing maps and Power Siphon for single targets. Both of these attacks are fired via ballista totems that you'll be able to have up to 7 of. You're wielding a wand so you can benefit from both spell and attack damage increases. Despite not having a lot of armor and a relatively low life pool, the build is very tanky, and with Divine Flesh, you're also getting an extra 5% to maximum chaos resistance. You will only need to take care of lightning and chaos resistance, which makes gearing up a lot easier. For mapping, use Kinetic Blast. These projectiles fork and explode, ensuring smooth and fast progression. For single target damage, use Power Siphon, a natural choice for wand wielders due to its specific qualities. Unique items are cheap, but rares and jewels are much more expensive. Be prepared to spend a significant sum on this build. The build uses some unique items. All of these are build-enabling gear pieces and cannot be replaced. Uniques here are cheap and common, so you should have no trouble acquiring them. As for the jewels, Impossible Escape and Watcher's Eye might be expensive, but the build works fine without them, just with less damage or survivability. Mind of the Council Helmet is essential for your survivability. It grants a lot of mana and redirects 30% of lightning damage to be taken from mana. It also adds a lot of lightning damage to attacks. Font of Thunder Shield is another core unique item. It makes 40% of your cold and fire damage to be taken as lightning, and combined with rings and Divine Flesh, you won't take any fire or cold damage. Cloak of Defiance grants a lot of mana regeneration, and MOM. Unfortunately, energy shield provided here is obsolete. The original Mind over Matter Keystone will be transformed. Chaos Spirit Gloves generate rage, which is a welcome addition to all attack builds. You won't be able to regenerate life, but it's not a problem due to the Agnostic Keystone. At Ziri's Foible. This cheap amulet provides you with unmatched amounts of mana and mana regeneration rate, which is essential. Reduction of attribute requirements is great too. Transform your Mind over Matter into Divine Flesh via Zybaqua's variant of Glorious Vanity. Mind over Matter will be sourced from the body armor. The Iron Reflexes Keystone is surrounded by 2 very beneficial notables, Panopticon and Ironwood. Allocate them via Impossible Escape, it will get you more damage. A medium-sized ring from the Thread of Hope socketed near Instability notable can be used to allocate Arcane Wool, Cruel Preparation, Heart of Thunder, and Breath of Lightning. You're using Vitality, Clarity, and Precision. The best modifier on a Watcher's Eye is Clarity's damage taken from mana before life, but you can check the other ones, they're good too in most cases. Maximum mana is by far the most important resource. The overwhelming majority of the incoming damage will be taken from mana before life. You don't need any energy shield, and you also shouldn't invest in fire or cold resistances. As for offensive modifiers, seek added lightning damage and attack speed. Maximum mana will also get you damage due to Transfiguration of Mind. Spell damage will apply to attacks. A good rare wand would be very expensive. There are a lot of modifiers worth your attention. Added lightning damage would be the most important one. Try to get a tier 1. Maximum mana, attack speed, increased lighting damage, critical strike mods, and penetration are to be looked for. Rare boots should provide movement speed, mana, life, and Shaper's suffix for built-in ballista support. You should be able to find a pair with an additional lightning or chaos resistance, and some attributes like dexterity or strength. A belt is where the life, mana, resistances, and attributes come in bulk. Try to gain as much of it as you can. Your right shadowed ring should redirect 25% of cold damage to be taken as lightning. Strive for a copy with a lot of mana, maximum life, added lightning damage to attacks, and resistances. Left ring should possess the same qualities as the right ring when it comes to the prefixes and suffixes, but remember that the implicit modifier should cause to redirect 25% of fire damage to be taken as lightning. Go for the Searching Abyss jewels. These should add flat, numerical modifiers to your mana, life, and added damage to attacks. If you're short on attributes or resistances, you can get them here too. Use 2 large cluster jewels with Prismatic Heart, Scintillating Idea, and Widespread Destruction. These are the best notables that can be found on a lighting cluster jewel. 1 Sleepless Sentry's notable is mandatory, for it grants you near permanent onslaught. Other medium cluster jewels can be used for more projectile damage via Repeater and Shrieking Bolts. Small cluster jewels Stubborn Student notable gets you more mana and a lot of armor. We recommend 1 or 2 of these. Born of Chaos grants plus 3% to maximum chaos resistance. The build uses 4 magic flasks, so implementing Mageblood would be a great idea. For a unique flask, use Bottled Faith. A very expensive unique flask that simply grants more damage and Consecrated Ground, which in this build is particularly good. For the utility flasks, use a Quicksilver, Diamond, Topaz, Amethyst, or Granite one. Topaz and Amethyst flasks will further reduce the lightning and chaos damage you take. Suffixes should grant critical strike chance, attack speed, increased armor, bleeding immunity, or movement speed. The most important setup is the Power Siphon one. It should be socketed in your body armor. It's a projectile with an additional critical strike chance and multiplier per power charge. It fires 8 extra projectiles, and has a built-in culling strike. Link it with Ballista Totem, Barrage, elemental damage with attacks, lightning penetration, and increased critical damage support gems. Kinetic Blast fires an explosive projectile. It explodes 4 times. Each time it interacts with an enemy by splitting, chaining, piercing, or forking. Ballista Totem support gem should be granted by rare boots as a Shaper suffix. Link it with Fork, greater multiple projectiles, and added cold or lightning damage support gems. Arcane Cloak consumes over half of your current mana to grant you a shield that's absorbing this much hit damage. It mitigates 75% of incoming damage. Link it with Enhance, Arcane Surge, and increased duration support gems. Frenzy won't do any damage, but its role is to generate frenzy charges on hit. Link it with Cast on Critical. This way it will also trigger the other 2 spells from this setup. Sniper's Mark causes the cursed opponent to take increased projectile damage, and hitting it splits your projectiles. Frost Shield creates a protective shield that mitigates incoming damage. It won't gain stages as you have exactly 0 energy shield, but it grants useful effects even at stage 1. Vitality regenerates your life. It's important to do so as it is transformed into rage. Mana regeneration is crucial for survivability. You can get a lot of it with Clarity. Precision increases critical strike chance and grants extra accuracy. Both are needed. Use Berserk to spend your rage and gain tons of attack speed, movement speed, more damage, and less damage taken for a short time. Flame Dash is a simple and effective movement ability. It stores up to 3 charges you can spend to teleport with no delay. Place Sigil of Power and spend mana when in its range. It reduces damage taken and adds lightning damage to your attack. It gains stages after spending mana. Killing all the bandits is the way to go. Helping a Lyra might be helpful early on, but the 2 passive skill points are ultimately more useful. Soul of the Brine King is a good pick for a major god. It prevents rapid consecutive stun chains, and can make you freeze immune. Chance to stun is based on maximum life, and here, it is very low. Damage over time, especially of physical type, is very dangerous. For a minor god, pick Soul of Ralakesh to take less bleeding damage and prevent other physical DOTs. The passive skill tree should accommodate 2 large cluster jewels and many smaller ones. It severely restricts the number of skill points you can spend on the default tree. Most of them will be spent on maximum mana, mana regeneration rate, and wand clusters. If there's an accessible source of maximum life, you should pick it up as well. You will need the Agnostic, Mind over Matter, and Ancestral Bond keystones. For masteries, allocate damage recoup as mana from Mana Mastery. Make the increases to maximum mana apply to Shock at 30% of the value as the Lightning Mastery, and include 3 wand masteries. The wand attacks fire and additional projectile. Make the spell damage apply to attack damage, and intelligence to be added as accuracy when wielding a wand. You can also grab the shock immunity as the charge mastery. Like most of the lightning damage builds, this one goes exceptionally well with Doryani's prototype. You can basically quadruple your damage at the cost of reduced defenses, but because it would make this setup extremely complex and expensive, it is not included. This guide ends here. If you'd like to see us cover any other builds, do not hesitate to comment below. Stay safe, see you soon.